Good evening. This is Pastor Neil Parsons, the chosen one. And we're going to do 2 more new lessons on faith. And I put faith is important with God. Abraham was tested by difficulties. Genesis 12:10. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe, and he was about to enter Egypt. He said to his wife Sarah, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife,' then they will kill me." When Abraham came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw Sarai and was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken to the place. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, made male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. "What have you done to me?" He said. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go." Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abraham to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. Excuse me. So Abraham was tested because he told a story. And Pharaoh saw how beautiful she was. So you see, Abraham was tested by the difficulty of the famine, number one, and number two, Sarai being so beautiful. So now, made Abraham right with God. Genesis 15:6. God promises a son to Abram. The Lord's covenant with Abram. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield and your very great reward." But Abram said, "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eleazar of Damascus?" And Abram said, "You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him, "The man will not be your heir, but a son who your own flesh and blood will be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them." Then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. Abram believed the Lord and credited to him righteousness. He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it. But Abram said, Lord, how can I know I will gain possession of it? So the Lord said to him, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, and each 3 years old, along with dove and young pigeon. Abraham brought all these to him and cut them in two and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came on the carcasses, but Abraham drove them away. As the sun setting, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that slaves, and afterward there will come out. In 4th generation your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. So let's go back to 6. I kind of rambled. Abraham believed the Lord and credited to him as righteousness. Now, it still took a long time for Abraham to have a son. And somewhere along the way, Sarai wanted Abraham, to have a baby by one of her servants. He did, and he didn't end up too well. But you see, God did have a son that he honored, and his name was Isaac. The tests were difficult, but God heard Abraham. The lack of faith brings a series of problems. Genesis 16:3. And we just talked about that. So this is going to be Now, Sarai, Abram's wife, had bore him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave, Hagar. So she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed, and Sarai said so. After Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. I put my slave in your arms, and now she knows she is pregnant and despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. So you see, we know what's happening. And it says in what I write, it says lack of it brings a series of problems. Lack of faith. I could go on. Ishmael was born and he wasn't a happy child. Hagar wasn't happy. She ran away. I could go through the difficulties. But you see, God intervened. Finally, I can imagine this happening. Finally, God had to slap Abraham in the head. Basically, he did. And said, listen to me. And sometimes our faith lacks. And sometimes God talks to us in a very stern way. Listen to me. Listen to me. Grow with exercise. Genesis 50:24. So the first generations of Genesis are dying off. Then Joseph let's go back to 16. When Joseph's brothers saw their father was dead, they said, what if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs he did to him? So they sent word to Joseph saying, your father left instructions before he died. This is what you are to say to Joseph. The death of Joseph. Joseph stayed in Egypt along with all his father's family, lived 110 years, and saw third generation of Ephraim's children, also the children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were placed at birth on Joseph's knees. Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and take you out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, your aid, and take you up out, but surely come to your aid, take you and put. And Joseph made the Israelites swear on oath and said, God will surely come to your aid. And then you must carry my bones up from this place. So Joseph died at the age of 110, and after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt. So you see, growth with exercise. Growth comes with the exercise of patience and faith and doing what God tells you to do. Joseph, no matter how bad his life was, his faith belonged to God. Complaining can show lack of faith. Exodus 14:11. The person to be cleansed. The Lord said to Moses, there are regulations for any diseased person at the time. There's ceremony cleansing. Okay, so there's a disease. Exodus 14:11. The priest who announces them clean shall present both the one to be cleansed, and their offerings before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Okay, so let's give you a not a common, but a recent history of disease. Let's talk about COVID for a minute. When COVID first came to the United States, they put out a lot of rules. Wash your hands, take your medicine, all this kind of stuff. Okay. But my instruction to having a disease is to pray and have faith in God that you're going to overcome it. Yes, I lost some friends to COVID. And yes, I had COVID myself. But you see, God healed me. Wasn't that bad? Okay? It's your faith in God that will heal the diseases. Lack of it brings troubles. Numbers 20 to 25. Numbers 23 and 5. The new generation, water from the rock. In the first month of the whole Israelite community arrived at the desert of Zin, and they stayed in Kadesh. There Miriam died and was buried. Now there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. They quarreled with Moses. They quarreled with Moses and said, "If only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord community into the wilderness? What, that we and our livestock should die here? Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grain or figs, grapevines or pomegranates, and there is no water to drink." Interesting. Yes, they got to eat. Yes, they had water when they were slaves. But they had to work 16 hours a day, non-stop sometimes. You see, they're still complaining even though it was better for them. Do we ever do that? We complain about something even though it's good for us? Sure, we do. Stop complaining. Lack of the faith brings you troubles. Is following God faith despite the difficulties? Deuteronomy 2. Deuteronomy. Okay, this is one of my favorite scriptures, and I want to read it. Spicing out. Then the Lord our God commanded us. We set out from Horah and went toward the hill country of the Amorites. Though all the vast and dreadful wilderness that you have seen. And so we reached Kadesh Barnea. You have reached the hill country of the Amorites. The idea seemed good about the route we are to take and the towns we are come to. The idea seemed good to me. So I selected the 12 of you, one man from each tribe. They left and went up to the hill country and came to the valley of Eshcol and explored it. Taking with some time of the fruit of the land, they brought it down to us and reported, "It is good, and that land the Lord our God is giving us." Rebellion against the Lord. This is where we should start it. But you are unwilling to go up. You rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You grumbled in your tents and said, "The Lord hates us." So he brought us out of Egypt to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites and destroy us. Not true. Not true. He didn't do that. It was promised land, and he would never do that. So 12 went out, 10 argued, 2 told Moses. Joshua and Caleb told Moses, "This is great land that the Lord has given us." Involved endurance to the end. Joshua 14:6. Now remember, Caleb worked with Joshua. Now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said to him, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land, and I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt in fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land which your feet have walked on will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly." So you see, involves endurance. Endurance by Caleb to follow God this long. But he was given what God wanted him to have. And he was told from the very beginning, he will have it. Affected by relationships. Yes, faith is affected by relationships. Judges 3. Five through 7. The Israelites lived among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. They took their daughters in marriage and gave their own daughters to their sons and served their gods. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served Baals and Adrahas. You see, that's why they sinned, because they married outside of their people. Idols, all different kinds. And they were punished. How well does your faith take pressure? Well, I can guarantee you it sometimes doesn't take pressure as good as it should. Okay? Our faith crumbles under a little pressure, but sometimes it lasts under a lot of pressure. Okay, this is Judges 6, 25 through 30. And this is the fourth. My Bible says all of this comes to Israel in periods. And this is the fourth period. Okay? The same night the Lord said to him, "Take the second bull from your father's herd, and one 7 years old. Tear down your father's altar to Baal, and cut down the top of the height of this height, using the wood of the Asherah pole that you cut down. Offer the bull as a burnt offering." So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord told him. But because he was afraid of his family and townspeople, did it at night rather than in the daytime. In the morning, when the people of the town got up, there was Baal's altar demolished, and the Asherah pole beside it cut down, and the second bull sacrificed on the newly built altar. They asked each other who did this. When they carefully investigated, they were told Gideon, the son of Joash, did it. The people of the town demand of Joash, "Bring your son, he must die, because he has broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it." But Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, "Are you going to plead Baal's cause? Are you going to try to save him? Whoever fights for him shall be put to death." Why? Because Baal was a false god. from the very beginning of Israel, that has been forbidden. So Gideon tore it down. But they wanted to be mad at Gideon, not at themselves, which is who they should have been mad at. Now I'm going to pray and take a little break, and we're going to move on to the second part of faith. Father, I thank you in the name of Jesus for giving us the faith that we have to believe in you. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.